Jango Fett is one of my favorite Star Wars characters. If you've watched the Battlefront episode of this series, you might recall me saying that. Despite his limited screen time in Attack of the Clones, I thought everything about him was so cool. It wasn't until years after I had first seen the movie that I found out there was actually a full-on video game starring the famed Mandalorian. Star Wars Bounty Hunter was released in 2002, a couple of months after Attack of the Clones, and serves as a prequel to the events of the film. Centered around Jango Fett, some of the things that take place in the game include how he acquired the Slave One, met Zam Wesell, and became affiliated with Count Dooku. The game used to be part of the Star Wars Expanded Universe, but it is now definitively non-canon, as the Expanded Universe stuff was rebranded following Disney's acquisition of Lucasfilm. Anyways, imagine my surprise when I found out about this. How the fuck did I miss this? It was even on the Gamecube, which I had as a kid. It was also on PS2, but for some reason was not on Xbox. You would think that for an action game like this, Xbox is not the console they would be omitting. In an old interview with the game's director, John Knowles, he explains some things about the graphics that imply that they are better across the board on the GameCube version. That's super surprising to me. I never considered the GameCube, or really any Nintendo console, to be some kind of hardware powerhouse. Today I believe you can get this on PS4 and PS5. I think the reason I missed this is because by the time I had gotten the GameCube, there were so many titles for it that there was no way I could have them all. Also, the console was very much a family thing, so my parents usually opted for safer games that were at least 2-player. I've been really interested in trying this game out, and finally have a good reason to spend some quality time with it. So after all these years, the time has come. Let's fire up that emulator and play some Star Wars. Right off the bat, you get this customized version of the old LucasArts intro. This is gonna be awesome. So the plot of the game is that there's this cult called the Bando Gora that's become quite a presence in the galaxy. It's being led by a former Sith gone rogue named Komari Vosa. Palpatine seems a bit worried about her and tells Count Dooku to deal with it, which he then eventually flips onto us as Jango Fett. The game is broken up into chapters, of which there are 6, each containing 3 levels, so 18 levels in total. At the beginning and end of each chapter, you get these pre-rendered cutscenes, and they look pretty damn good for the time. I'm especially impressed with the lighting. Turns out these cutscenes were actually made by ILM, the special effects studio of Lucasfilm. Nowadays, they're involved in pretty much every blockbuster movie being made. The game also uses a mix of original soundtrack and some of the more well-known tracks from the films. I don't know which will trigger copyright detection, so unfortunately most of this game is going to be played without any music. Temuera Morrison, or Temuera Morrison, reprises his role. Although this version of Jango definitely sounds a bit more raw than the film version. It's less sinister sounding. However, it's still unmistakably Temuera and is close enough that it doesn't take away from the game.
I never thought so, Jabba, but perhaps you know where I might find what I'm looking for.
Anyways, the first chapter is just a standard bounty hit. It establishes Jango as a bounty hunter and serves as a partial tutorial to get you used to the controls. And let's talk about the controls, because I've got a lot to say about them. First, they made A attack and B jump. That's already wrong. The Y button is the action button. You use it to open doors, activate elevators, and cut open these metal grates. The X button is to crouch or roll. This vent thing reminds me of the Batman Arkham games. Well, technically this game came out first, so I guess what I should be saying is the Batman Arkham games remind me of this. This is a game where the camera is always situated behind you. You can look around with the C-stick, but once you start moving in any direction, the camera will flip around behind you. You'll often have to run around corners blind since the camera can't quite catch up. That's a bit annoying, and when you add combat into the mix, it starts to get shitty real fast. You can lock onto enemies by holding the right bumper, but remember, this is with a GameCube controller, so pressing this down is not exactly easy or comfortable. Also, sometimes the game doesn't know which enemy you want to lock onto, and might lock onto an enemy who runs behind cover. I almost got motion sickness in my first session with this game because of how finicky this lock-on system can be. However, you better get used to using this, because trying to kill enemies without it is a bad time. Holding down the Z button will enter what the game calls first-person mode. Right. I don't think you're supposed to see the top of your head in first person. Anyways, this will stop you dead in your tracks, but lets you use the joystick to aim. Only problem is that the sensitivity is so finicky, it almost isn't worth doing. And of course, you can't change any of the controls. The only options are turning off the inverted Y-axis for looking around and controller rumble. This game also has a bounty system, which is one of the bonus objectives in each level. Basically how it works is that there's a scanner mode that is an actual first-person view. You can use this to analyze NPCs to determine if there is a bounty on them. If there is, it will also tell you the credit prize for capturing them dead or alive. So you can either kill them or use the little wire thing to rope them up. Most are pretty easy to secure, but a few of them will either fight you or run away. To my knowledge, the only use for the credits is to unlock concept art at the main menu. Your main weapons are the pistols, which have unlimited ammo and unfortunately don't use the sound from the film. But at least they look right. You can pick up more powerful blasters, but they have limited ammo. You can also use your fists or a flamethrower, but since the pistols have unlimited ammo, I don't really see a point. Then there's these little dart things. The first level has a bit of everything. You'll get the first taste of platforming with this game's controls, which is pretty rough. On top of the funky camera situation, you need to program in your head that B is jump. I can program that A isn't jump, but then my brain ends up defaulting to X because out of the 4 buttons, B seems to be the least likely. You can also scale along ledges in this game, but to hang down, you press Y. Let's just say the controls in this game take a lot of getting used to, and after playing this game for several days, I still find myself fumbling around like an idiot. This is also one of those games where you don't really know exactly where you're supposed to go. Most of the time you're just trying to find some button or vent or new door to go through. Also, you might have realized that Django doesn't have his jetpack in this level. In the opening cutscene, he gets attacked by the arena monster, which destroys his jetpack. Maybe they figured they better get you used to the controls before introducing another layer on top of that. So you're after this guy named Miko the entire chapter. In the second level, you're running through the streets chasing after him. Eventually he gets to a merchant and steals a speeder right after this other guy had just bought it.
I want my money back!
You bought it, pal. It's your problem now.
Damn. Sucks to be that guy. The merchant quickly receives his karma though as Django walks up and demands the jetpack that he has for sale. So now we get to fiddle around with the jetpack controls. L activates the jetpack. Again, having to hold down the bumper on a GameCube controller isn't the nicest feeling. Holding L without moving will send you up, while holding L and moving the joystick will move you horizontally. So if you want to jump to a higher platform, you need to ascend separately, and remembering to do this is the hardest part. It's a basic instinct to begin moving while jetpacking, especially if you take a running jump start. Add the camera stuff to this and you've got the final layer of the shit sandwich. I often find I have to stand completely still and press R to recenter the camera before I can begin moving again. It's so clunky. I'm starting to think that if I played this as a kid, I might have given up on the controls alone. So you chase after Miko's speeder through the streets, which is difficult to navigate because everything looks pretty similar. Eventually you get to this long sloping tunnel. You just keep sliding down it, and once you reach the bottom, Miko will crash the speeder. This leads right into the next level called Docking Bay, which is ass fudge. The opening cutscene hints that you're supposed to get onto this one conveyor belt. However, you quickly start getting shot at by bad guys all over the place. You can try to kill them all so you can start looking around, but they eventually respawn, so you gotta keep it moving. I guess we might as well talk about how dying works in this game. Obviously, running out of health kills you, but your second biggest nemesis is falling to your death. You get 5 continues per level and will respawn at the last spawn point. In the level, the spawn points are denoted by this knife hologram thing that you pick up. Fortunately, dying mid-gunfight will not reset all the enemies, so if you practically cleared a room when you respawn, it will roughly be in the same state. So after flying around and dying a few times, I finally realized that you're supposed to jump on these little roofs and move across to the very far conveyor. You start to move inside this shipping facility and Roz is barking in your ear the whole time. Who is Roz? Well, Roz is a Toydarian like Watto from The Phantom Menace, and I believe she's supposed to be Django's friend and handler, sort of like Diana from the Hitman franchise. The inside of this place can be quite intimidating. What with all the conveyors running about, it seems like there's a million different ways to go. All you gotta do is start guessing. You use these explosive cans to explode the laser shields. So I eventually get to this room with conveyors going up and down and these magnetic field things. Fortunately, I ended up finding another one of these laser doors to explode. I fight some more bad guys in the next room, and then I finally reach Miko, who is inside this big ship. This is the first big boss fight in the game, and as long as you've got some extra lives, it's pretty easy thanks to the auto lock. You just have to destroy all the parts of the ship. Alright, so the ship explodes, Miko comes out, and we turn him in for the bounty. In the post-chapter cutscene, Django meets up with Roz, who gives him a transponder thingy that projects a message from Count Dooku, who introduces himself as Tyrannus. He invites Django to partake in the hunt for Kamari Vosa. The reward is a whopping 5 million Republic credits. We also see Montross, implied to be a longtime rival of Django's, receive the same invitation. Then, Django takes on a bounty for a death stick dealer in Coruscant, as it will be a good starting point to get info on Vosa's location. As Django flies to Coruscant, Roz tells him to use some of the credits he's earned to buy himself a new ship. The first level of Chapter 2 takes place in Coruscant's entertainment district, which is a welcome change after playing through the various shades of poop in the last one. There's a ton of NPCs, so you can spend the first several minutes running around trying to rope people up. In this level, you'll quickly realize how ass it is to go upstairs, as enemies will often fire at you before you can even see them on your screen. I randomly got a bounty marker on this guy after I entered this bar, but he died in the crossfire and I guess he wasn't worth anything dead. Alright, let me mark this guy. Okay, here we go. Oh, son of a bitch. I started chasing this guy all over the place, trying to ignore the enemies, but I eventually had to square up or else I'd risk dying. I caught up to the dude and fortunately he didn't want to run anymore. While I'm trying to rope him up, Roz says, "That's him." Like, really? Gee, thanks. Turns out she was actually talking about the person standing beside this dude, which is Jervis Gloom, the dealer we're supposed to be going after. Wait a minute. Uh-oh. Oh, okay. That was weird. So now it's another goose chase after Jervis. Ah, feces. I hope these guys are ready to get reverse spawn killed. Yeah, get shit on. You enter this casino and Jervis is hiding upstairs, so you go up there and interrogate him. He says he works for Groff Hogg, who runs a processing plant in the industrial sector. In the next level, you hitch a ride on Jervis's ship and sneak into the processing plant. After some grotesque platforming and slaying a bunch of Groff's men, dying several times in between, you finally reach a carbonite freezing chamber. At the top, you find Montross is already there and has frozen and killed Groff Hogg after interrogating him. You exchange unpleasantries and then you fight. I'm gonna be honest, I shit all over this guy, but he just ends up leaving. Django checks Groff's voicemail and finds out that Senator Trell is involved in the death stick trafficking and plans to head to the upper city to interrogate him. In the next level, we arrive at the bougie part of Coruscant, and Roz says it's not going to be easy getting up to the Senator's penthouse. And at this point, I'm already shitting my pants at the thought of having to parkour my way to the top. About 30 seconds later, you find out that this is exactly what you have to do. So you go up several staircases, fight lots of guards, and then you get to this maroon-colored room with this giant pillar in the middle. I must have run around this thing like 20 times until I spotted a vent underneath the walkway. Eventually you end up outside of the building again and see another one of these huge ramps. Well, fuck it, here we go. So you keep ascending up this other building now. This would actually be really fun if the controls were better. Once you get high enough, you'll be able to enter the building. There's a shit ton of guards and some of them have grenade launchers. Damn! Nice shot, dude. After clearing a few floors inside, you'll head back out and find a bridge you can scale across. Then you gotta walk back across the bridge and hop onto these little ledges sticking out of the building. So we get to the top and Django dangles the senator over the ledge. The senator says that his supplier, Sabalto, asked him to move a new kind of death stick and that we should go ask him about Vosa. A Coruscant security ship appears and demands that we release Trell. He's like, you better listen to them, so Django agrees and releases him off the building. Like the boss fight in Chapter 1, you're fighting against the ship again and you just have to destroy all the parts. Afterwards, Roz tells Django that Sabalto has a bounty on a former employee that is currently incarcerated at a maximum security prison. Django plans on using the bounty to get close to Sabalto. The first level is breaking into the prison, which is on this asteroid planet. In the opening cutscene, Django appears to be modifying his jetpack, which now lets you shoot rockets out of it. You fight your way to this huge elevator shaft and use it to descend into the depths of the prison. Oh, I guess this guy didn't see me. Ah, what the? Right here, I should have clued in that the door that enemies were coming out of is the one that I needed to go through, but it just looks like a random door, so I didn't think to check it. After walking around the room for about 5 minutes, I eventually noticed that the door had a little switch beside it. Nothing comes easy in this game. I get strong Halo vibes in this level. Maybe it's because of these corridors. You meet this creature who agrees to take you deeper into the prison. As you descend, they tell you this story about how Kamari Vosa had decapitated 2 prisoners as part of a ritual or something. I don't know, to be quite honest, the accent is quite heavy and there are no subtitles, so I can't understand everything.
Couple of years back, an inmate, smuggler from Baltazar, told everybody about how he'd been rescued from Bandokora by this beautiful Jedi girl.
But anyways, we go through the hallways fighting more guards and eventually crawl into the back rooms. We start going through the vents until we find our prisoner's cell. Once we get there, we discover that he is currently being interrogated by a familiar bounty hunter. It's Zam Wesell. Leanna Walsman reprises the role. She has initiated a prison-wide riot as a distraction, so now in addition to the guards, we have to fight the prisoners too. So with the plan being foiled, we now gotta focus on getting out of this dump. We fight hordes and hordes of enemies, probably more than you've encountered in the entire game so far. Oh shit, what the fuck, there's 2 of them? I hate these rocket bastards. I only got 1 life left. Better make it count. So you fight through this huge room and eventually get to this part with a bunch of long narrow walkways. This part doesn't fuck around. Alright, let's cross here. Oh shit. No. Oh, come on. Back to the fucking beginning. Well, now since I know where to go, I try to skip as many of the enemies as possible. I made it back to where I was, managed to take out most of the enemies on the walkway, but I can't for the life of me get across without my jetpack running out of fuel. Ah, shit. I finally figured out that you can make it if you take a jumping start. A small leap of faith. So you escape, go through some caves, and find an elevator to take you back to the surface. Once you get there, you see Zam and the prisoner attempting to hijack your ship. You help her fight off the guards, and she offers to split the reward for the prisoner if you give her a ride off the asteroid. Right as that happens, a familiar-looking ship comes and blows ours to bits. Django declares that he's going to go steal that ship and proceeds back into the prison. The primary objective is to now disable the prison's energy shield that prevents any ships from leaving or entering. This involves shutting down 3 reactor cores. So we head back into the prison and eventually reach this giant room with a bunch of platforms and a giant pillar in the middle. This is a central room that leads to all 3 reactor cores. The biggest challenge in this level is once again figuring out where the fuck you're supposed to go. After clearing this room, I walked around for like 10 years and thought I had finally found the door, only to realize that it's the hallway that I entered from. Just by chance, I jumped down and happened to land in front of the door that I am supposed to go through. Once you reach the reactor room, you just gotta clear the guards and then open up these grates and shoot at the inside. 1 core down, 2 more to go. What's a pain in the ass is that every time you get back to the main room, it gets repopulated with enemies, so you have to clear it all over again. Alright, so here's core number 2. Room is secure, just gotta fly down and... ah, crap! Missed the platform. Alright, here we go. Let's cut the grate open. Oh, wait, come on, what's happening? Oh, come on! What the fuck was that? Finally. Alright, that's 2 down. At this point, the third one should be a walk in the park. And thankfully, it is. Now that that's done, all we gotta do is go steal that ship and rocket off of this piece of shit. We head to the highest platform in the main room, do some more hallway fighting, and reach the hangar. However, some weird ship rises out of the ground, and we've got ourselves another boss fight. This ship will start shooting rockets, which are a bit annoying to deal with, but aside from that, it's not hard. Really, it's not too different than the last 2 ship fights. I noticed towards the end it stopped moving, but I don't know if it glitched or what. Oh shit, wait, no, not that. No, not the grenades. What the hell am I doing? Well, that was awkward, but anyways, Django flies out with the Slave 1, blows the hangar up, and picks up Zam and the prisoner. In Chapter 4, Django agrees to include Zam in his trip to visit Subalto. Meanwhile, Montross learns of Subalto's bounty on the prisoner, implying that he too will probably be making an appearance in this chapter. The plan is for Zam to turn in the prisoner, as she'll have a better chance of getting invited to hang around afterwards. Django's going to drop off in the jungle and work his way to a canyon across from the compound. There, Zam will help him cross. Remember these from the film? That big cat-like monster that slashed Padme on Geonosis? Well, they're here in the jungle, and they are a pain in the ass. They leap super far and do a lot of damage. You also get a sniper rifle in this level. It's alright, but sometimes it takes 2 shots to kill an enemy, which is kinda whack given how little ammo it has. The hitboxes for the turrets in this game are all kinds of fucked. The hell? Your best bet to kill a turret gunner is by flanking around behind him. Now in this part there are enemies on top of platforms attached to trees. But because they're above you, locking on can be a bit tough, and standing still to manually aim will get your ass toasted. You almost never want to be standing still unless the enemies are far enough away that they won't shoot you. This dude on the turret just tanked a rocket to the face. Oh shit. Alright. Oh come on, where did you come from? Didn't even get out of the doorway. The sensitivity is too damn high. You've got to be so careful with the joystick. Ah, this is Wampa shit. Eventually Zam will call and tell you that the plan worked and that Subalto asked her to stay for dinner. Meanwhile, you're slaying so many of his men, it's a mystery why none of them have told him about all the shit that's going down out here. Oh, what the heck? What the hell was that? Oh, come on, are you shitting me? What a fuck. This part of the level doesn't fuck around. At this point in the game, there's no mercy when it comes to fighting hordes of bad guys. You just gotta squeeze and cheese and hopefully have some extra lives. Guess I gotta cross there. Can I even make this jump? Well, here we go. Not even close. From here? I mean, it looks just as far. Here we go. Whoa, just barely. So I can see the checkpoint from here, but all of a sudden this dude starts firing rockets. These rockets are my kryptonite. Once you finally clear out this area, Zam will start calling for help, signaling for you to start sniping at the dudes across the ravine.
Blasted Fett, where are you? I need your help here. Good shot.
Zam eventually gets to a control panel and sends a skiff over to get you across. Up to this point, this was by far the longest level in the game. Alright, so in this next level we actually get Zam as an AI partner and have to fight our way to Subalto's compound. She takes your sniper, but it's not really necessary in this level. So there's this bridge here, but I can't figure out how to lower it. Do I shoot the hinges? Don't tell me I can just fly over it. Right. Somehow every jump in this game looks impossible. Anyways, you have to keep activating panels and elevators so Zam can keep up. But then how did she get here in the first place? Who knows? This part, I'm pretty sure I'm supposed to fly to the other side, but I just can't figure out how to get there. At first I thought you could scale across. Seems like a reasonable assumption, right? But no matter what I do, I can't grab onto it. Crap. Oh, come on, what's he doing? Okay, this can't be it. I eventually found a small ledge and tried to jump from there, but it's still too far. Wait, don't tell me I can just make it from here. Of course. I reach this building, clear it out, and then Django takes the sniper back and goes alone on foot. Well, this can't be good. Oh no, a fucking rocket guy. Fuck it, I just gotta run. Oh man, I'm stuck. No! That was my last life. If only I didn't fuck around with that one jump earlier, I'd be fine. So I replay the level and get back to this part. I make sure to be extra careful and try to snipe as many of the enemies as I can. Alright, I guess that's the throne room. Dude? The hell was that? Ugh, what a load of baloney. I successfully make it to Sabalto's throne room, and now I have to fight his small army. What is he, invincible? Oh, look at these guys. Let's use the rocket. Nice. In the midst of all the action, Sabalto runs out back, and as we catch up to him, he jumps down a tube. The last level opens with Sabalto sliding down the tube into the death stick factory, and he splatters against a wall.
That'll be a sour batch.
This opening section is honestly one of the hardest parts in the game. There's a series of tubes you have to keep sliding through, but the doors to each tube open and close. Then, if you touch the floor surrounding the hole, you'll take damage, and there are also bad guys shooting at you. You get to this room which has a bunch of poles sticking across that are too skinny to stand on. And this is where the controls really stick it up the ass. To jump, you press B. We've got used to that. However, when you climb up something this skinny, you'll flip over it and then grab the other side. So after jumping, you press L to jetpack, but it doesn't do anything because Django's too busy re-grabbing the beam from the other side. This is shit. When you finally get it, you'll then be faced with 3 new holes to go through, and you don't have much time to choose, so you better be quick. Alright, left. Ah, fuck. Too hard on the landing. So after learning where you're supposed to go and adjusting to the controls crap factor, you eventually get to a part of the factory where you're not constantly falling down. However, after traversing this long conveyor, you start to see a bunch of narrow walkways, and it's like, oh god, please have mercy. You fight your way across these narrow-ass pipes while these guys are shooting at you from all over. This level is honestly insane. And to make matters worse, this part has Bandogora sniping at you, and they're hard to see because their outfits are black. I can see a checkpoint across the way here. I rode this skiff to the other side only to be jumped by these Bandogora dudes. These guys, or whatever they are relentless. Django investigates this ship and finds out that the Hutts are likely involved in the distribution of death sticks. But then Montross appears and declares battle. He starts firing rockets because he knows that's my one weakness. Well, 2 can play at that game. How do you like that, asshole? I guess my tactics worked because for some reason he just stopped shooting back. All of a sudden Zam shows up in the Slave 1 and rescues us, even though I seem to be kicking his ass pretty good. Zam finds out about Vosa and the Bandogora, so Django reluctantly reveals the truth about the bounty. In his findings, he learned that the Bando are adding a neurotoxin to their death sticks. He deduces that Vosa is using the Hutts to transport the cargo from her hidden system to Tatooine. It is revealed that Montross planted a tracker on us or something and can hear everything the two have been saying. I can't wait to kill this dude. Django calls Roz for some intel, and she says there's a bounty posted by Jabba the Hutt on local gang leader Longo Two Guns. I'm starting to notice a pattern here. There's a whole lot of kill or secure this person in order to talk to this person. One endless chain of quid pro quo. Anyways, Django decides to go after the gang leader and tells Zam to go investigate Gardula the Hutt. Chapter 5, we're now on Tatooine, and for some reason in this level Django doesn't bring his jetpack. The ability to fly might not be useful, but this also means we can't shoot rockets. This level will really test your combat skills, as it's primarily just blasting your way through the streets until you get to the gang's base. Oh man, the fucking sensitivity. There we go. Oh, are you kidding me? Evidently, I'm not very good at gunfighting. My strategy relies on squeezing and cheesing and having enough lives. This turret gunner has me pinned in this corner. I gotta make a run for it. Ah, nuts. This is not good. I don't know how much more of the level there is, but I've already burned through 3 lives. Alright, let's toss a grenade at these guys. Oh shit. Come on, man, what the hell were those guys doing? Fucking 2 lives left. Alright, so right about where I died is the courtyard to the gang's hideout. Inside we confront Longo 2 guns and you can see that a shootout is brewing. I'm trying to mentally plan my course of action, but once it begins it just all goes to shit. Oh, this is bad. I only got 1 life left. Alright, here we go. Oh, what the fuck? Fucking explosive? Oh man, what do I do? Come on. No! The health was right there! So, much to my dismay, I have to replay the level. I get all the way to the end with multiple lives and make one major adjustment before entering the hideout. Earlier in the level you pick up this rifle. Well, I saved all the ammo for this hideout fight, and now I'm just mowing these guys down. This is so much easier. I eventually got a good sightline on Longo 2 shits and sent his ass to the grave. In the following cutscene, Django immediately reports to Jabba and asks about the Bando Gora. Jabba says he doesn't deal with such scum and tells Django to go to Gardula's vault. And then he asks us to kill her. Like, buddy, that's a pretty big request to just slip in there. He says there's a canyon that leads to her palace, but it's crawling with sand people. This is probably gonna suck. So the next level opens with Django calling Zam to see how she's doing with Gardula. During the call you can hear her getting kidnapped, so it seems like she's doing pretty shit. I guess it is our fault though for bringing her along. So you trek through the canyon fighting these desert cats and Tuskens. The Tuskens are super annoying. They all carry snipers, so they do a lot of damage. If you can't close the gap, your only option is to counter snipe. But once you stop moving, you're a sitting duck. And at this point, I've already complained enough about the sensitivity. Oh, come on. This level contains a fair bit of jetpack platforming, but at least it's fairly easy figuring out where to go. Well, for the most part. Eventually we start fighting the standard bad guys again, which is a welcome change as it's easier dealing with them than getting shot at by snipers. Oh man, not a rocket guy. Here we go, blind spot. So I get to this part here and I can hear a rocket guy firing at me. Fortunately he can't hit me, but I can't see him from here, so I have no idea where the rocket is coming from. I try to fire a few of my own and try to kill him with a splash, but it's no use. I'm gonna have to fly straight into him. Oh! Ah, shit. Come on, dude, why'd they have to put so many of these guys in here? After one big final shindig, we cut into this vent leading into Gardula's palace and find Zam locked in her cell. Zam says the key to the vault is a medallion that Gardula is wearing. Django says he can't risk breaking her out at the moment, but will come back to get her later. She doesn't believe him and calls the guards. You're being a real B-word, Zam. It's the final level of Chapter 5. So now we're stripped of all our weapons and are brought before Gardula, where she sends us to be eaten by her pet dragon. I guess the Hutts really love their ridiculous pets. Anyways, you instantly try to attack these Gamorreans with your fists, which is just pitiful. There goes half my life. Now as far as the dragon goes, it doesn't really move, but every once in a while it will slam the ground, which knocks you down if you're too close. There's a vent off to the side which allows for a quick escape. Django sure is lucky they didn't take the blowtorch. Alright, I guess we drop down here. Ah, shit. Alright, fuck trying to fight these guys. I'm just gonna run and see what happens. Huh? What is that? Oh, nice. It's all my stuff. Well, you bastards are dead as shit now. Oh, what the hell? Alright, let's go rocket. Ah, shit. Bad idea. Wow. I'm honestly surprised I survived that. This next room has a bunch of enemies, including several rocket guys, which is just awesome. I get to this one room and it's filled with the Bandogora dudes. These guys don't mess around. This must be one of the ships sent from their base. Thinking this room is important, I look for a door or vent to another room, but nothing. After flying around for way too long, I finally decided to go back the way I came, and of course, that's where I was supposed to go. There's a guy in a turret, and of course I can't shoot him from the front because the turret hitbox somehow makes him invulnerable. Ah crap, where did these guys come from? This happens so often in this game. A doorway that you just came through suddenly shits out a whole squad of enemies. You eventually get yourself to Gardula's throne room, and Gardula's like, "You poisoned my water supply, burned my crops, and delivered a plague unto my houses. What more do you want?" And Django's just like, "Give me that shit," and just yoinks the medallion off her neck, and then asks for info about Vosa. Also, I don't know how or when the dragon showed up, but there it is. Anyways, Gardula refuses, so Django walks behind her and drops a classic Mafia quip.
Jabba sends his regards.
He punts her into the pit and she gets eaten by her pet dragon. So of course, now you gotta fight this thing. However, you hear the dreadful, piercing, despicable sound of a rocket, and quickly realize that this fight just went up to 10 on the shit scale. Remember, the dragon can still knock you down, so you don't want to be on the ground. However, on the platform surrounding the room are Gamorreans and the rocket guys. It's just a total sensory overload. I tried to stay in this little tunnel area, but somehow the rocket dudes could still target me. I inevitably ate too many rockets and died. So next life, I try to fly around and kill all the rocket guys first. So I clear one side and head towards the other, but by the time I get there, I notice in the distance that one of them has already respawned. Therefore, I don't think you're supposed to kill these guys. Fuck it, let's just kill the dragon. Here we go, I found a spot. There, I beat it. So Django, now in Gardula's vault, calls Roz and asks her to decrypt some data as his decryption gear on his old ship got destroyed back at the asteroid prison. He then pays a visit to Zam and she tries to apologize, but Django's no sucker, so he leaves her there to dwell on her thoughts. In the Slave 1, Django tries to call Roz, but that piece of shit Montross picks up and says, "Don't worry, Roz isn't dead. Yet." Django then speeds off to Roz's space outpost. In Komari Vosa's lair, she admits she underestimated Django and the one who shadows him, but I'm not sure if she's talking about Montross or Zam. Probably Montross. Anyway, she instructs the Bandogora to kill the two of them. Django arrives at Roz's outpost and finds the place in ruins and Roz lying on the floor. She tells him that Vosa's lair is on one of the moons of Bogdan. Sound familiar?
I was recruited by a man called Tyrannus on one of the moons of Bogdan.
Django wants to get her to safety, but unfortunately there's no time as Montross has rigged the place to blow. She hands Django a drive that can guide him to Vosa's lair and asks him to find something to live for aside from the money. Django leaves and shortly after, the outpost is destroyed. Django flies to the moon housing the Bandogora and thus begins the final chapter in the game. Well, it's just the start, but I can say they certainly nailed the creepy cult aesthetic. Immediately after running around the Slave 1, you'll run into several members of the Bandogora. I tried to kill them all so I could begin scouting out the surroundings, but after a while I realized that they just keep coming. Seriously, they never stop. I eventually realized that there's a button when you first spawn. If you press that, it opens up a tunnel at the other end of the room. You do that in the next room as well, and then enter this corridor with some of the Bando snipers. These guys don't fuck around, just look at how much damage they do. As you continue down the corridor, it opens up and you are now surrounded by tall walls on each side. I nearly died, but fortunately made it to a checkpoint. So now I'm inside this tower and I can see that there's a gap in the ceiling. I'm assuming I need to get up there, but no matter how hard I try with the jetpack, I just can't quite reach it. I can see a dude on top of this platform up there, so I definitely assume that I'm supposed to go that way. Alright, plan B. Follow the trail of enemies. Hasn't failed yet in this game. So you're actually supposed to fly onto the rooftops and work your way backwards. As long as you don't fall, you'll be fine, but there are a few enemies around, so you gotta be careful. So I finally got back to the tower and was able to get to that one area I saw from the bottom. Now you gotta be careful not to fall down into the hole. So you zip up, climb the ladder, and successfully make your way into the Bandogora HQ. You will quickly arrive at this large swamp-like area. I go to fly out to a rock, and out of nowhere I get sniped 5 times before I can even get a look at the enemy. Before getting back down to the swamp, I hop up on this ledge and dump several rounds into the sniper. You probably can't see him, but that's the name of the game. You use your jetpack to jump to these little islands. I actually never really sat in the water, so I'm not sure if it does damage to you. However, there's always a swarm of bandos running around, so if the water doesn't kill you, they definitely will. I naively tried to kill some of them, but that just proved to be a waste of time. Near the other side of the swamp, you'll get to this building. You hop inside and fight your way through the catacombs, and you'll eventually end up back outside. You notice a familiar ship and then spot a checkpoint off in the distance. You get yourself over to this bridge and then, surprise, surprise, it's Montross. More like Montrash. Did he really land his ship this close to the bridge? Why did I have to walk this entire way? That's a pro move. He might deserve this bounty off of that alone. The two decide to duke it out one last time. It's fitting that his armor is brown because he ain't nothing but a piece of shit. Unfortunately, you start the battle with whatever amount of health you had when you got here. Doesn't matter. Prepare to meet your maker, Dookie Fett. Fuck. Well, at least I found out that they actually animated a scene where Montross is the victor, which is a nice touch. So the second go around, I decide to use some advanced strats and blast him with a couple of rockets. Then I used a rifle pickup and was able to beat him pretty easily. Instead of delivering a killing blow, Django lets Montross get his ass torn up by some Bandogora. It's pretty cruel, but after all he's done, I get it. In the next level, we're basically just traversing to get to the final boss fight against Vosa. Like a giant fucking idiot, I somehow thought I could wipe out all the bandos again. In this game, you just gotta keep it pushing. You have to jump across this bridge made of rocks. Everything is so dark, and of course as soon as I land, I get jumped by like 10 guys. I reach this checkpoint, and then again a sea of bandos come flooding out the door. Oh man, Jesus. Oh, it's the fucking lock on camera. It's so annoying because you'll be strafing in one direction, but then Django keeps turning, and next thing you know, you're moving off the platform. So after getting through this catacomb, you've got another bridge to cross. At least it's pretty clear I just have to keep going straight. I get to the end of the bridge and reach this cathedral thing or whatever, and I'm greeted by several Bandogora, which isn't surprising at this point. However, one of them shoots me and knocks me down, and I'm stuck. What the fuck? Oh, I guess that was supposed to happen. Django gets tortured by the bandos, and we finally get a good look at Vosa. And damn, that is quite the getup. I didn't know you could show that much ass on the Gamecube. And this game is only rated T. She tries to get Django to reveal who hired him for this hit. Surprisingly, Zam shows up to save the day. I don't know how she freed herself, but this is a good time for a redemption arc. Vosa takes out 2 lightsabers which have curved hilts just like Count Dooku's. Zam starts shooting at her and gets hit with the Uno Reverse card and gets wounded. Then, in a move that everybody can see coming, she shoots at the locks holding Django in place and he starts blasting. Zam seems to be alright, so Django suits up to finish the job. Alright, here we go. Last level in the game. Everything we've done up to this point has been building towards this. As you round the corner, you immediately get bombarded by Bandogora. I just barely managed to survive, which is not a good sign. The entire level, Vosa is taunting you.
Come on, bounty hunter. Hunt me!
Once I get close enough to press R, she's gonna be real sorry. As we enter this large room, we can see Vosa on the other side, and a bunch of Bandogora are creeping around the ledge. They're too far to lock onto, but fortunately most of them don't have any weaponry, so they're just dancing around until they fall off. There was actually one guy that could shoot, but his buddy was blocking him, so all the bullets were going up his ass. Alright, that's it. What? How did I die to that? After respawning, I make it back, but again, the jetpack only takes me to this little platform below. And now that I'm here, I just can't find out how to get up there. Oh man. It looks like I'd be able to grab onto these rocks sticking out, but I can't. Oh, so close. What? Why did that work? Whatever. So I cut open this grate and a bunch of bandos jump me and start roasting me in this corner. I pick up a rifle and decide I might as well use it, otherwise I'll die before even getting to Vosa. And thank God I did, because look at this shit. Alright, here we go. Ah, shit. I can't move. Damn. This guy just hit me with the two-piece combo. Hopefully there's no more doors left because I feel like I'm dying every time I open one. Turns out there is one more door, but thankfully it's the last one as we finally arrive at the final boss fight. I'm a bit nervous because I don't know how hard this is going to be and I've only got a few lives left. She's got the Force and 2 lightsabers, so I figure this can't be easy. Once it starts, she'll continuously charge at you. Then she enters this one stance where she'll deflect your shots. You just gotta keep running away while shooting at her and then stopping when she does that deflect stance. When you get her to about half health, she'll run away. You chase her into a bigger room, which actually makes it easier since it's much more flat. All things considered, this is actually fairly easy. In fact, I found the fight against Montross was harder. When you beat her, she gets lifted in the air and then spins around a few times before falling. I don't know what the hell that's about. She asks what's it gonna be, dead or alive. Jango lowers his blaster, but she seemingly chokes out and dies. From the shadows, Count Dooku appears and congratulates Jango, meaning the whole thing was a big fat ruse. Dooku knew the whole time that Vosa was here as she was once his disciple, and the bounty on her head was a test to find the perfect candidate to clone into an army. Jango accepts the offer on the condition that he gets the first clone without any genetic modifications, which we all know as Boba Fett. They shake on it, Jango takes the injured Zam back to the Slave One, and the stage is now set for the events of Star Wars Episode II: Attack of the Clones. Pretty fascinating stuff. The game ends and you get a "You win" screen. Nice. And then we get some stats. As you can see, I kinda gave up on the bonus objectives towards the end. According to the game, it took me about 6 hours and 40 minutes to beat. I guess it sounds about right. Now that it's all said and done, I can confidently say that this is a pretty good game. Despite being a bit frustrating at times due to the controls, I think this game was challenging but not unfair. Even though I missed out on this as a kid, part of me is happy I got to play it now when I can understand all the quirks of the controls and gameplay. Playing as Jango Fett was awesome, and they nailed that aspect of the game. Whether it be tying guys up, using your gadgets, or clearing a room while you're heavily outnumbered, this game really makes you feel like a badass bounty hunter. The story is also really interesting, and despite there being a lot of info packed into a relatively short game, none of it really feels out of place to me. I know this game and a ton of other Star Wars media got retconned out of the main canon, but this is still a great supplement to Attack of the Clones, and a very solid Star Wars game.